Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how it'll impact our one. Today, let's talk about Dragapult and how it's really taken over the meta in Japan. It just got released this past weekend in a Mask of Change set, and this has absolutely taken over the City Leagues by storm. It is definitely a tier S deck right now with over 20 wins. We're going to break down exactly how people are playing this card and how I actually got it so wrong about how powerful this archetype is. Plus, also go look at some of the Heavenly Kings, what they think some of the best lists are from the brand new set, as well as also breaking down some of the new archetypes kind of come around and have done pretty well in the City League so far. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So let's look at how one of the Heavenly Kings believes a Dragapult list should look like. And you can see here, it's got a lot of stuff which people have been thinking about. It does have a very thick Dragapult line, that amazing Dracloak, which pretty much gets to look at the top two cards of your deck, put one into your hand, and the other one at the bottom of the deck. So already very, very good for filling and drawing cards. Plus also place that brand new Tatsugiri to look at the top, believe 6 cards of your deck and choose one of the supporters and pop it into your hand. Basically a Pokegear, but as a Pokemon, which is pretty powerful. Now there's a few things here which I want to really mention, which I really like about this one. The Devolution TM works perfectly with Dragapult. Dragapult has a really good spreading damage with 6 damage counters to any of your opponent's Pokemon however you like. This I think is really powerful because the Devolution TM can team up to take multiple prizes from its amazing attack and spread damage. I also really like the Lance in this one, which is finally has some time to shine, making you look at pretty much search your deck for 3 Dragon Pokemon and pop it into your hand. This makes you get out of your Treebees, your Dracloaks, and also your Dragapults as well. I also love having the Neo Upper Energy, which has kind of seen a lot of love in Dragapult, making you instantly be able to attack this one instead of having some of its very precarious energy costs, which requires a Fire and Psychic. People have been teaming this one with likes of the Mallow, which makes you attach some fire energies, but you have to draw until you have 6, so there are some caveats with this option. But I do think this is a pretty strong one for how Dragapult is starting to look. Now, one thing I was very much didn't really think about how powerful Dragapult could really be was that I didn't take into account how powerful that spread damage really is. Because it is anywhere, not to one Pokemon, it can make some Pokemon very, very out of reach. For example, that 60 can instantly KO the likes of some Pidgeys, some even the 60 HP Charmanders, and even the likes of the Frigipacks as well. So some other decks will have to really tech around this one if Dragapult is doing so well. Another list which people talk about is Chien-Pao, which I really think is quite strong in this sort of new format. It does play 2 brand new cards, and one of them is that new Wellspring Ogerpon, which has that really good sniping attack, 100 damage, and then an additional 120 more if you shuffle all energies attached to this to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I think this is a pretty good one. They still are playing the likes of the Iron Bundle, and the rest of it is all pretty much how we've seen this one. Very thick on the supporter with a 4-3-1 split. I think that's actually absolutely warranted, but also does play the Jamming Tower and no of the likes of Pokestop. Definitely a little bit of an interesting thing to see, but I do like the likes of a Jamming Tower because it instantly stops likes of a Maximum Bell, so you can start with your Ogerpons or Chien-Paos and not have that worry that they're instantly going to be KO'd by likes of a Charizard, because most Charizards are going to the Prime Catcher, but definitely something to be considerate about. Now, I think there is some little bit of a greedy play with some of these ones, definitely the 2-3 lines of the Bibarel and only having 2 Super Rods, which I think I would always must have a 3 Super Rods. Purely we want to constantly be recycling that one. They are definitely thinking of the likes of Devolution TM by having that 1 Artifacts, but I think it is a fun way to play how we could play Chien-Pao by having a Wellspring Ogerpon, which I definitely want to be testing in this brand new format. Another one as well, which has a lot of hype, is the Palafin. And Palafin is a really, really powerful card, and I think this is incredibly powerful. Now, why is it so good, the EX? Well, it has 340 HP on stage 1. Instantly very powerful, but it can only be put onto play if you use the Palafin's first sort of ability, which pretty much means you have to switch into it or switch out of it. Either way, you have to switch it, and you can instantly evolve into this one by shuffling in that Palafin in the deck to its new one. And then you can attack for 250 damage for 1 energy, and then you can't attack the next turn. Pretty powerful. You can have the likes of that Kieran, the brand new supporter card, which lets you have an instant switching card or do 30 more damage. Chuck that with Maximum Belt, you're pretty much getting these big one-hit KOs. So an additional 80 more damage to EX Pokemon, 330 damage for 1 energy. Like KO's Charizard, that is a very, very powerful option. I think this is a really fun way of how Palafin has kind of been discovered. It hasn't actually had that much love in the City League. It did get 1 top 8, but I think it is definitely something to be considered about. I think Palafin is in a very, very fun position as a very good rogue archetype in the brand new format for us, Twilight Masquerade, which we actually get next month, which is crazy soon. And finally, I want to look at this Lock archetype, and this is a super scary deck. We already have seen Iron Thorns do very well both in standard and expanded at the latest Champions League a few weeks ago. But you can see here it gained quite a few new cards. It gained obviously Super Scoop Up Cycling, which means it instantly can pick it up and have that instant healing effect, which is super strong. Also plays that brand new tool card, which allows you, when it's attached to this one, move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their bench. Again, this is pretty powerful and very disruptive to the opponent. If, for example, like Charizard, you have very limited energies and sometimes they can all be in play. If they start attacking you into this with this the fan attached to it, you can effectively get them out of energies purely on the basis by moving it away from their active Pokemon. But it does play that new the fighting type Ogerpon, which pretty much means it can't be affected by any Pokemon that have abilities. Now, if we kind of think about it, how powerful the meta is focusing around abilities, just look at the likes of things, for example, Cramorant has ability, Arceus has an ability. Heck, even the likes of these very powerful ones like Chien-Pao and Charizard, all of these have very strong abilities, and not being able to affect this Pokemon is incredibly strong. So having this good lock factor is really good. I love the TM and Energize as well to really search your deck for extra energies to really power up, because they are quite energy hungry. There is only a way to kind of like energy accelerate is from that factor. Otherwise, you're taking sometimes 1 to 3 turns, depending on when you get your DTE out. So I do think this is a very fun lock archetype and could be a good way to see. We have seen it do pretty good success in the Champions League, City League, by getting quite a few top 8s and a few top 4s as well, but no really advantage in some wins. So definitely something to be considerate about if this could be a brand new way of how we're going to play lock or control. Now, without further ado, let's look at the City League map and how the meta has evolved to be a tier S to archetype for Dragapult. And we can see here, yeah, it is back at that really high number, 23.4%. And this is very interesting because number one, it's only been legal for 3 days in Japan. As well as also, it's a brand new archetype, so it's also quite a bit difficult to get hold of. But we're about to see right now how powerful it has ended up to actually nearly winning every single City League so far. We also see Lugia has done incredibly well. The Legacy Energy is a really good inclusion for Lugia. Pretty much making sure we can have now finally Iron Hands or even the new Wellspring Ogerpon or Luminion really safely into your deck to really like have that capitalize on having that special energy attached to this one. That's one thing Lugia's kind of struggled with. It's always had to have these colorless attack costs, but now having the likes of a Luminous Energy, make sure you can have that one energy, one like sort of multi-energy, which is really strong for a strategy. Now, Charizard and likes of Chien-Pao and even likes of some Lost Box decks have really fallen from grace because of how powerful Dragapult is. Because if you think about it, a lot of these archetypes do play these 60 HP Pokemon or effectively multiple ways for Dragapult taking multiple prize cards from their very low HP bench Pokemon. So Dragapult has really capitalized on that one. 200 damage and that 60 60 Sprinkle is incredibly powerful, especially in this sort of archetype. Think of Charizard, they always normally play the 60 HP Charmander. So now all of a sudden they have to go back to the 70 HP one to really hopefully they don't get KO'd and hopefully they get that set up against Dragapult. It's definitely a way of how Charizard is going to evolve. We're going to really understand about how it's going to affect it going into next week. Even like some of the Lost Box decks have definitely fallen from grace a little bit. It's definitely the first time we've seen Charizard fall this far, and also this first time we've seen Lost Zone actually fall a little bit as well. It was already in a very good position. The likes of the Bloodline Ursaluna really added into this one. Also want to say I did definitely read Bloodline Ursaluna just a little bit wrong first time. I feel affected by bench Pokemon. No, it's affected by prize Pokemon, so it's still exactly the same as the likes of Radiant Charizard. Chien-Pao and Gardevoir has definitely taken a little bit of a dip, but I've definitely noticing there's more of an increase in Gardevoir play than the likes of Chien-Pao. I think Chien-Pao, the meta right now, isn't right for it. If we're seeing Dragapult doing incredibly well with that 60 HP and that 120, they get stuck like Muscle Band or even a Defiance Spell, they can effectively take 3 prizes in a turn, which is definitely very scary for a Chien-Pao player. Gardevoir as well, if Dragapult is already doing very well with lots of these sprinkly damage, they can get big KOs on the attacking option, and it can be definitely devastating for your play. I do think this is a very much something to really keep an eye out for. It's the first weekend this set has been legal, let's remember that. So it definitely will change. It's not, we may be in that era where Charizard was that S tier deck in Japan, and now it's just been taken over by Dragapult. So I definitely am going to interested to see how it's going to evolve in the week. I'm really excited to see how it will change. But if we just look at the top 6 decks which actually done well, there is a huge difference between where Dragapult is compared to the second place. Again, it is a brand new, fresh archetype, so obviously lots of people will be playing this one, but 23 wins at the first place come to second place, which only has the likes of 4. That is insanely how different that really has to approach. We can also see here that Lugia and Charizard are pretty much neck and neck, which is actually a very interesting sort of strategy. They've pretty much had nearly the exact same results the entire time. So for me, I think that's a very unique. One thing I also want to mention It's like the Voswells. I've kind of taken away from the likes of having the Roaring Moon and changed it to likes of Bloodiness Luna, because I've noticed that as more of the common sort of archetype and the more pairing option in the likes of Lost Zone right now. Turbo Iron has been in 6th place. It's definitely a little bit of a shocker, quite literally. They definitely are having more of the likes of the Iron Thorns to really help slow down the opponent just in the early game, but also it's an incredibly good attacking and also helps them energy accelerate to your Iron Hands as well. One thing I really want to point out about this one, it is just the first weekend. So the meta is going to change. The meta is going to evolve. But seeing how powerful Dragapult really is compared to the 2nd and 3rd place is definitely a little bit of a worry to think about. But that 60 Sprinkle gets these KOs on Minchinos, but also gets KOs on Charmanders and Pidgeys as well. So again, something to really consider about. But right now, let's actually look at some of these Dragapult lists, because there is a ton of different variations. And the first one teams up with none other than Charizard. Could this be the best way to play Charizard going into this new metagame? Potentially. What I really like about this one, because it really capitalizes on that energy acceleration, because it has that very awkward sort of attachment, the psychic energy plus fire. But it really capitalizes on going, well, why don't I just pretty much combine both of the pretty much S tier decks and chuck it into one in Japan? And this is a really good combination. Gets the lance to pick up all your pieces. You have a really good draw engine, in fact, with the Dracloak. But also you have the TM Evo as well to really kind of energy accelerate him quite early on. Tatsugiri as well gets your many supporter cards, which is very much an important thing. I really like the Enhanced Hammer because it gets rid of the mist energy, which can be a bit tricky for Dracloak to deal with. Plus also an unfair stamp as well. As soon as your opponent takes one prize card, you can get a good setup, and an instantly unfair stamp them could be a very, very scary combination. And Charizard is also a really good late game split sweeper. Obviously, it has 10 more HP than a Dragapult, and it does in fact have a weakness, unlike Dragapult EX does, but also having that really good late game attacking option is really, really powerful. I am a big fan of how this Dragapult is actually kind of being built, and I do think this could be a good way about how we're kind of seeing Dragapult be evolved into it, kind of going into the future. Another version we have seen is the like of the Lost Zone version. And this is a build which a lot of people did think, because, well, it has a bit of a costly energy requirement. Why don't we use the likes of Mirage Gate with this one? Plus also team likes of Radiant Charizard as your Radiant card of choice could be really good as a late game attacking option and also a single prizer as well. Sableye makes a lot of sense this one, because if you're playing TM Devolution plus Sableye and a big of a sprinkle damage, you can take potentially nearly all your prize cards in one turn, purely on the basis of how powerful your spread damage can be. I do think this is a really nice option. I really like the Kieran as well, because it makes sure the Dragapults can actually hit 230 damage. Plus also your Radiant Charizards can also do 280, which is a very, very nice number. I think this is a pretty powerful version of how the Lost Zone decks have really evolved into this one. Again, we're seeing unfair stamp, so potentially this is the best aspect right now to see in the Dragapult ones, unlike the likes of the upper Neo energies, which we've seen in a lot of lists. I do like this one here, but also I think this is the kind of build which I'd be kind of leaning towards right now in my early build with the Xatu, a very, very powerful draw engine, having the Xatu to attach energies and draw, just also having the Dracloak as well to draw as well. One thing I love is they both have the TM Devo and Evo. The Evo, I think, is very, very powerful in the early game. Setting up your Xatu, setting up your Dracloaks really helps you in your consistency. Getting the energy drawing, getting the your draw engine set up is really, really strong. I also love the Jirachi in this one. It's kind of checking for the mirror match as well. It's also the Tatsugiri, again, to search your deck for any of the support you might need. Could this be the new, like, Mysterious Tail Mew, or could it be the likes of the new Stellar Wish Jirachi, which we have seen have great success in the past? So I think these are really good support Pokemon to go with this one. Scoop Up Cyclone has its A-Spec of choice, which I don't think actually is, I do think it's a very nice combination, especially with the Zard because you have that energy acceleration. The Scoop Up Cyclone means you can instantly pick up one of your Dragapults, evolve one of them to a Dracloak, and then evolve one of your other Dracloaks into a Dragapult, and then have a really, really big attack in the late game, instantly heal up a lot of stuff. I do think that Temple of Sinnoh is probably going to be a staple in most of these decks, really to stop the likes of Mist Energy, but I think this Dragapult is a very, very powerful archetype, and I do think it's going to be really, really strong, and potentially this is the build which I'll be playing the most, but we are seeing Charizard build be the most successful. And finally, this was one with a Pidgeot, so that does have upper Neo energy in this one, so we've seen four different versions of Dragapult with three different the A-Specs, which is really unique and very interesting. If you include the Heavenly Kings, that's 5 different versions of Dragapult. So we're in the stage where it's still discovering an archetype. Obviously, this build here makes you get any of the card you might potentially need. It does play the Mela and also the Upper Neo Energy for ways to get some additional energies on the field. Again, we are seeing the Temple of Sinnoh and the Enhancer to get rid of those missed energies. The rest one is pretty much straightforward. I would say this build is very similar to likes of Pidgeot, like like pretty much that build, because we've seen the Rotom, we've seen the Lumineon, we've seen high counts of Arvin, high counts of Iono, and obviously a 202 line of Pidgeot. So I do think this is a very, very powerful version of Dragapult. It potentially might be a little bit slow with the energy acceleration to likes of Zard-2 and Charizard, but definitely something to be considerate about, especially if you're going into the early testing for Twilight Masquerade, getting ready for NEIC, because I think Dragapult is going to get continuously stronger. And we're seeing all of these lists here, all of them have very different strategies. And I think right now, personally, I think the Charizard build is going to be the most popular, but I do think the Zard-2 one has a lot to offer. This one here, maybe not as strong, but we are seeing this one pop up quite a few times. Now let's look at some of the other winning lists as well from Japan. Let's look at this Lugia. So yes, I've talked about Lugia quite a bit, and we're seeing here a very different build of this one. We're seeing likes of an Iron Hand this one, but plus the Legacy Energy. Legacy Energy, for those who don't know, I've mentioned it quite a few times, pretty much makes sure that if it's attached to any Pokemon, your opponent takes one less price card from it, but also it has a really, really amazing effect, which makes it so it's any one energy at a time. But you can only use this one effect per turn. Yes, I know you can have the likes of a Rose and Research and Lumineon to hopefully recycle a little bit of this one, but you can only have the effect of the like the only one less prize card once per game. So think of like a new V-Star for this archetype. The rest of it is a pretty much straightforward Lugia. We're seeing this one. The Jamming Tower, I do think is pretty good because it stops the likes of these powerful tool cards in Gardevoir, so you can make your Gardevoir matchup quite a little bit better. But it's also stopping likes of Maxim Belts, so they can't get these big one-hit KOs on likes of the Blood Lunas, Luna, and Iron Hands. Definitely a fun way of how Lugia has kind of been evolving. Like I mentioned before, they are playing likes of the Wellspring Ogerpon, because I think it's had that amazing sniping effect, and also swings the matchup so much easier in Lugia's favor. Like getting out 120 snipe, getting rid of a Minchino on the bench, and gussing up potentially a Cinchino. It's very, very scary. Plus, also does play that new Kami, which means you can only play it on the first turn of the game. And I think you can discard and draw tier 5, which is a pretty good, powerful effect, especially what Lugia needs. It needs as much help as possible. If it can help anything on the first turn, it's very, very strong. Now let's look at some other fun decks. Festival Box did in fact get second place, and a lot of people do like this one. It has a really good effect, Do the Wave, which does pretty much 20 times the amount of bench Pokemon you have. This isn't too bad, but if you think about it, it has the amazing ability, which if you do have the festival out, which pretty much means you can't be affected by special conditions, you get to attack twice. So this is a very, very nice one. A lot of people thought, oh, we can use the TM, like all the TMs as well. Crisis Punch attack, really, really high time, but no, it doesn't affect, only to the Pokemon. So effectively, you can do 200 damage turn up for pretty much for 1 energy for a single price Pokemon for 80 HP. Very, very scary. You also have the likes of the Grookey's Evolution, not Rillaboom, it's going to come to be randomly Thwacky, that's it, which pretty much means if any of your Pokemon in play has the Festival ability, you get a search deck for any card and pop it into your hand. It's basically having Pidgeot on AM stage on one Pokemon, which is actually pretty nuts if you think about it. It does play likes of some Curing for switching and dealing more damage. It plays out in Bug Catcher, so you can search deck for Grass Pokemon, the Cleffa, the Goldeen to help for some setup. So that's also the Unfair Stamp to kind of go good when you're behind in prizes, or your opponent's taking a knockout, you can really punish them as well, which I think is a very, very nice strategy for this deck to have. I think this is a really fun one. We did see it get another top 4. So in theory, there could be something for this one. It definitely performed a lot better than likes of Palafin, which one of the Heavenly Kings did think could be a good archetype. So I do think that this is a very, very fun one. So Festival Box, definitely keep an eye out. If you pull some of these cards in your pre-release in a few weeks' time, definitely save it aside, because I think this could be a very, very fun archetype. And I'm really excited to see how it develops. And I also want to look at some other ones as well. Greninja has made a brand new partner with that Froslass, which pretty much means any Pokemon with a, believe it is a rule box, puts 1 damage counter on them in between turns. See the rule box are evolved. I can't remember which is the actual sort of strategy, but that's actually a really, really nice sort of effect. And it works pretty well with Greninja. You already do kind of like a pretty powerful sort of attack, doing 170 damage search check for any card as possible. You set up multiple Froslasses, you're dealing effectively a lot of damage. Yes, you're doing some damage to yourself, but you do have kind of like clear up from the likes of a collapsed stadium. By having the Unfair Stamp, by having the very, very good sniping capability, I think this is a really, really strong sort of combination partner with Greninja. We have seen it have a kind of time to time, another top 4 list from yesterday did in fact did play the Froslass, so potentially this could be the new partner for Greninja. Not having access to the Pidgeot to search deck and get another any one card, this Froslass could be a very, very pesky card to kind of deal with. I still love the Unfair Stamp. We have seen it pop up more time and time again in these archetypes. So again, if you're thinking about what the next best A-spec could be, Unfair Stamp is a very, very good contention, potentially to dethrone the likes of Prime Cat should be one of the best A-specs to play, because it is so usable. I really like the Froslass. I think it really opens up Greninja, has that really good sniping sort of capability, and kind of like having that good spreader sort of effect can work really well with the Greninja's secondary attack as well. And finally, let's look at Ogerpon. Ogerpon did get a top 4, which it's kind of like weird to think this is probably one of the best places one outside of obviously the Wellspring one, which did do very, very well in some Lugia lists. For those who don't know, this Ogerpon, which means you can attach an energy to this one, and you can draw 2 cards. Not too bad at all. We also have the Synesty, and both of these ones deal more damage amount of energy you have attached to this one, or in the discard pile as well. And obviously, Ogerpon does a lot of damage depending on how many energy is attached to both active Pokemon. This is pretty much just a guarantee of some Charizard hate deck. The Weirder as well is a really good inclusion, just kind of like load up the board with loads of energies attached to your Ogerpon, and then to switch into Weirder as well, and instantly put into play and do a huge amount of damage while doing 40 times the amount of energies attached to this Pokemon. And if it gets KO'd, you've got Synesty to kind of like reload them back in and deal a huge amount of damage from this spread attack. I think this is a fun archetype. I don't think this has a very, very good competitive sort of stance to this one, but I wanted to showcase it. I think it's good to see we are seeing some new archetypes kind of go through. It's not just a Dragapult love fest, because Dragapult is doing so well, and I do think it's going to continue to have that big power creep. So I do think, is it going to be the next best deck? And I do think it really will be. It is incredibly powerful and a really, really strong deck right now in the format. I do think Charizard could effectively keep up with the metagame. If it's teamed up with Dragapult, I think it is definitely a really, really good partner to go with one. And some of the new decks might in fact go through. But I do think the big takeaway from this video is, don't be too scared about Dragapult. Don't think it's going to be the big S tier deck right now. We've got to level up to see how the format is going to evolve. If by this time next week we are seeing Dragapult be this powerful, then it's definitely something to be considerate. Or could we see like the Charizard really bounce back? Or is it generally going to be just Dragapult plus Charizard is the best way of how to play the archetypes right now? It's going to be the best deck right now in format. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I will see you guys in a few days' time, because I've got some fun top 5 videos to play in expanded as well as also standard draft right now. See you guys then. Bye for now.